Hey everyone, welcome back to our Honey Farm. So you guys can hear me okay. We are live tonight, and right now KAMON is running a little bit late, so he'll be on in a second. But first, I do want to thank everybody who's on here tonight joining us for our beekeeping chat. Plan on having KAMON, Reynolds. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I have a different mic placement tonight. Got an echo, Grayson. Let's see here. I'm gonna try to fix it. Sounds good. All right. Just let me know in the comment section below. If my mic sounds okay. Hopefully it does. And also leave any questions in the chat, and we will get to them soon. And lately I do got an update on nukes while we wait for KAMON, and lately I actually got an update on our nukes because we're gonna be getting the nukes here in probably about 3-ish weeks. So that's good. Good to hear and good to know. We're going to be getting those here in about 3 weeks and try to install them and see how this year goes. Let me go on and name some people who are in here tonight. Let's start from the top. We have Ron. Good to see you, Ron. I'm glad you're able to join us tonight. Good to see you, Mary. Appreciate you checking in tonight. We have Brian. Good to see you. Keith Spillin. Stuffy, good to see you in here. I'm glad to see you. Thanks for checking in. We also have that's almost about it. We have Flower Street Farms. Good to see you, Brian. Steve in there. That's good to see you. Tim and Hannah. Toby Reader, apiaries checking in. Good to see you. Sharon, good to see you too. Thanks for checking in tonight. Good to see everybody tonight. I'm glad everybody, and if you don't know, KAMON's running a little late tonight, so he'll be in here pretty soon. Just trying to read the chat. Chat's going by kind of quick tonight, so good to see you. Randy. Oh, there you go. There's Tar Heel Beekeeper. Good to see you, Randy. Thanks for checking in. Let me get this up here. Let us know where you're from. Your name, so people can know who's checking in. I'm doing good, Brian. Just been busy doing some stuff today. Busy like everybody else, and trying to keep up. And like I said earlier, we're gonna be getting the nukes here in about 3 weeks. That's just the time being plan. We're gonna work at doing that. That'll be good too. Murdoch's honeybees from Northeast Alabama. Good to see you in here. Thanks for checking in tonight. Let's see here. But other than that, it's really that's all there's going on today. Everybody else, I'm sure is still kind of, getting to that spot, keep on going up and getting to more of the season. Preparing your, equipment, some of your different stuff that you're going to be doing. A lot of other, plans that a lot of other people will be, trying to do and work at. Christopher Root, good to see you. 19 out of 19. Now that's good. Over one train, very, very good number and to be coming out of. I went in with I think like 6 or something. I only came out with 1. Unfortunately, that was my fault. And we have Oki B Man. Good to see you in here. I'm glad to. Thanks for checking in tonight. Let's see here. Let me do something here so you guys know when you're checking in. The weather this week, OKB Man is doing really good. And tomorrow it's supposed to rain, unfortunately, like it's been doing. And like after that, I don't think we're having rain. And right now, on Sunday, Easter Sunday, we're gonna be having some really, really warm weather, 81 degrees, sunny, and thankfully no rain at the moment of what it shows. So it's gonna be a nice Easter. For some people, I don't know, it might not be the best, but for us it will be. Cleaning up out the dead outs. I'm sorry to hear about James. Sometimes it happens whenever you're trying to get overwinter bees. Sometimes it just those dead outs occur sometimes, and you always learn from it. You get to see a bad weather coming in here tonight. I think we're supposed to have some rain tomorrow, but I think most of the bad stuff is hitting like Mississippi and Louisiana. So um, Homer Spring, good to see you in here. Thanks for checking in. Let's see. We also got Brian. We're looking at a couple days of rain starting tomorrow. Yep, more rain, and we're going to be having some rain here in southeast Alabama. So it's going to be kind of miserable. And doing any beekeeping reading these days. I guess you mean by like reading books and stuff, Brian. I actually have been a little bit. I'll flip pages sometimes. I like to look at stuff like that. I actually really have like a the beekeeper's Bible, if you guys know that. And I like to flip pages from time to time. Rain Thursdays, 30s at night. I guess that's kind of cool. We got snow again last night. Kind of over it. Hey, beekeeping bro, good to see you in here. Thanks for checking in. Let me make sure I got everything correct. Like I said earlier, guys, KAMON should be on here shortly. Running a little late, but we'll be patient. If you guys have any questions for me to kind of spare the time for the time being, feel free to answer them or ask them. And put questions in too. For KAMON when he comes on, that'll be good too. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible. The Morris Homestead, good to see you in here. Cold front moved in today, dipped into the 40s, and have a fire gun. Better than those in any. Yep, I get you. Wow, pretty not too bad at night, but it still is kind of cold. How many nukes you getting? I'm getting 6. So I'll be back where I started. Probably be 1 above where I started, but going into winter, so that's gonna be good. We're gonna try to replace those and do a better year this year of managing them, and doing a little bit better job management on how we're gonna be managing them and some stuff like that. So different management plans. I have a video on that I talked about a little bit, and good video after this if you want to check it out, you guys. Mark Coral, rain most of the day here in central Arkansas. I think today and tomorrow is supposed to be mostly rain for some people. Today it was a nice day, 74 the high. I don't know what the low is. It's not gonna be any cold weather tonight. It's gonna be nice, decently nice, and we're gonna be warm weather really. Down here, South Alabama. Toby Reeder, I think I already mentioned him. Good to see you in here. I was in my house today. The queens have moved down to the bottom box and lots of drone brood. Looks early for New York State. Grayson, are you seeing any swarm cells yet in your colony? Not yet. I've been keeping a close eye on that, Tim. Really, really close eye. Make sure, we don't see any swarm cells, being as proactive as we can. Most people know, trying to be somewhat proactive and, on how we're managing. And I've been checking them, and no swarm cells yet, thankfully. And if it does occur, we'll do a split. We'll make a split, and I'll do a video of that too if it happens and we need to do that. If you don't see a video, the hive probably never even tried to swarm, which I'm pretty sure, since they're pretty strong, are going to at least try, and at least probably so. They'll try at least, Grayson, how many swarm traps you have? I actually haven't put any up yet. I've been really trying to get around to doing that, and I haven't really got around to doing it. And here soon we're going to and put some swarm traps out, try to catch some swarms. Also try to do some cutouts. I actually did recently get the Go Getter Everything Bee Vac, as you guys know. Really good vac. Does a good job. And looking forward to using it and seeing how it works out. But not yet. But put a couple probably here soon. Going to try to catch a couple swarms, see how it works. I actually do have some lure that I can use, from Bob, his swarm lure, and gonna try to use it, see how it works, and also use the bee bag. I'll do some videos here soon once we start trying to, because I want to get back to that trailer, or I don't know what you call it. I guess a trailer is it'll come to me at some point, but a camping trailer. That's right. And we went there and trying to remove it, and it was just so hot. We decided we'd push it off for a while till about this time. So after Easter, so since Easter's next Sunday, or it's coming up Sunday, we're gonna wait till after Easter, and we're gonna see how everything goes. I'm at work right now, so I'll just be listening and want to be in the chat. Definitely listen in, tune in, how everything goes. And for people who are checking in, Kamon's run just a little bit late. He'll probably be on in just a second. I'll let you guys know if there are any, disruptions for him coming on, and we need to postpone it. I'll let you guys know. But other than that, let me read the comments. They just passed me by pretty quick. Let's see. I put 6 traps out, second year, still haven't got any, hopefully this year. Let me do something for you guys, so I don't have to keep on saying it. I'm just going to go and pin it up in my comment section. How long does the average honeybee live for? Well, that's a topic in its its entirety. I go and sting the thumbs up button, guys. Go and click it. Whatever you want to say. There you go, guys. You should see it up there. It'll be pinned so people can see. How long does average bee live? So, usually like in the summer bees, even right now too, they live for about 36, 35, 34 weeks, somewhere around there, about a month-ish. Then, you have your winter bees, they'll live a little bit longer. Much longer for the winter, which, winter bees, the physiology, as we always talk about, and I always kind of explain in my videos, they live for about 4 to 6-ish months, about this time, our, bees will be getting more into, of summer bees, which will go into summer, then we'll get back into winter bees later on, getting back into fall, that's what we really want to do in fall. Hey, Bob, good to see you there. Good to see you. Thanks for checking in tonight. I see you, Mike. Good to see you in here, Mike. I'm Minnesota beekeeper. I probably missed somebody in here. I'm gonna try to go back up to some of the comments. But how's everybody's spring going so far? I guess we'd call it officially spring. I'd say everybody's having warm weather. Everybody's having decently good weather. Some people up north, of course, I know, not having the best of weather. Yes, everybody, please go on and smash that like button. I really would appreciate that. Let's see. Tar Heel Beekeeper. I think I got everybody named in there. Warm weather, but we need rain here in Oklahoma. So a lot of times, when you get warm weather, sometimes it is good to have a little bit of rain. Of course, we've been having a lot of rain, guys. A lot of rain. It's just a lot of rain. All the rain that we've had, in January, a little bit in late January and February, even in December, we had a lot of rain. Not whenever it was decently warm. Even on Christmas, it rained. So just winter, a lot of rain. Keith Spillman, lots of brood. My hive right now has 4 frames of brood. So I've been making sure I've been feeding it, making sure, we have enough food to supply that amount of brood in the colony. So, just ensuring, that they have enough. I don't want them to starve, right now. That's definitely something I don't want to, to happen. Let's see. Finally got 6 to 18 inches of snow and rain. Still looking at a possible 4th year of drought. I get you. Hope we don't have too much of a drought. We had that cold spell a while back. Actually, about half a week ago or something like that. And I hope it didn't kill anything off. It got pretty cold that night, but the bees did fine. A lot of rain here in New Jersey, where Brian Bennett's at. Yeah, but I guess you probably get a good bit of rain up there too. It's unbelievable. But like I said, it's probably not gonna be too bad here, but I think it's supposed to be hitting pretty bad there in Louisiana and probably a good bit of Mississippi too, depending on where you're at, of course. Your location. You may not have the worst of bad weather, right? But I didn't do any inspections. I did an inspection last week on Wednesday. I took off some sugar water feed on Saturday. I didn't really do any looking in. I just took the sugar water off. I plan on probably on Wednesday or Thursday, whenever it's not raining, to put on some more sugar water. So that'd be good. North Jersey, yeah. In New Jersey, probably have some good rain up there. Some rain in Mississippi. Probably some North Alabama will get some rain. We're gonna get some rain tomorrow too. It's like a 93%. And if you do have any questions, just keep us going. Leave them in the comment section below. I'd appreciate it. And if you do have any questions, we'll save them for later too. Let's see. Central New Jersey. All right. Nice. Mike Minnesota, we mostly get rain with a few snowflakes mixed in today. Sloppy mess out there. Definitely probably a good bit of. Guess everybody's having really rain now. Sometimes a lot of times right now everybody's getting that rain. Oh yes, Mike. Me too. Well, he'll probably be on here soon. Which have to be patient, but I think this will be fun. We're gonna talk about some different topics. We'll probably go a little bit later since we're kind of late starting. And yeah, but you gotta stay on. Just stay tuned. We'll be on here soon. Kind of checking some stuff. Let's see. There we go. There's JW. Good to see you there, JW. Russell. Good to see you there, Russell. Thanks for checking in. Trying to make sure I didn't miss any comments. Comments really go by pretty quick. I wonder how the bees will react to the upcoming solar eclipse. I've never thought about that. That's a very interesting thing. I'd have to research that and maybe make a video on that. Probably be something interesting to look into and study on. Does anyone put in warmed up 1-to-1 sugar water on the up/down weather days, or just stick with fondant? Oh, I get you. A lot of times what I did, and everybody can head home or part for the night. I get you, Keith. But what I did, and it's not the same for everybody, but we had some very warm weather. But when we had that cold snap last Monday, at this time, we started getting down a little bit more colder nights. I took off the sugar water. My 1-to-1 sugar water that I had, there wasn't much left in it anyway, but there's still at least 1/4 left. Actually, just 3/4 left. Actually, excuse me. And of course, like Russell says down there, it really does depend on where you are located and where you're from. But what I did was I took it off and I just put a little bit of fondant, which they consumed all the way mostly, and that helped in extra ness for the bees. And that's just what I did in that case scenario. And when you get in that type of place, that's probably a good idea to do. But I'm curious to see if they come back out and finish the day, or they will stay put for the day. It'll be interesting to see. That'll be something interesting to see, and see what they do. You probably could look out the window or whatever and see what the bees are doing, and see if they're staying put afterwards, or if we're going to be staying in, like you said there. But that'd be something interesting. I think that'd be an interesting type of study for somebody to do. But it probably wouldn't be a hard one either, really, honestly. You just have to, see here. Let me do something real quick. There you go. Let's see who else is in here. Let us know where you're from, everybody who's in here. We've got 47 people on here. I appreciate you guys taking the time to come in and chat with us tonight. Bobby Park, good to see you there. 50 people on here now. Good to see everybody. I'm glad people are tuning in tonight, giving people some time to get in and not miss anything. If you guys have more questions, please leave them in the section. Curious about no videos from KAMON. Did the fallout with his partner react to his channel somehow? I don't know, Mike. Sometime it'd be good to see some more videos. Looking forward to check Lonesome Bees. Me too. It could be. But other than that, folks, that's all, what's been going on here. What's going on in your apiaries? Your temperatures and what you're planning on doing. Because, other than what I've been saying, it's just like, like not much on there. Yeah, probably just busy. There's always, the expo, definitely. I think I heard that the expo is pretty good, in 2024. Yeah. And I wasn't, we weren't able to, make it up there, but I saw some videos. It looked pretty good. Good conference up there, for people to attend to. Yeah, I get you. What are your plans with your 6 nukes? Well, we're gonna try to, get them here soon, probably mid-April. From what I'm telling you guys, these are just time being plans, and we're gonna install them, of course, and let them grow, see how they go. And you see, there's I've been thinking really about, like, if we're gonna be doing, like, are we trying to make any honey from it? But whenever you get a nuke, of course, it's gonna take a little bit for them to grow. So we'll see how everything goes and falls out in that time. Whenever we're, I'm gonna install them. If they're big enough, if I want to make a little bit of honey from them, I will. But for the most part, we're just gonna let them grow and see how everything plays out, and that aspect, of course. And then after that, I'll make videos whenever we install them. I'll just kind of show some videos on what we're doing, how we're going to be doing it. Some of those, kind of update type videos. I like to do update type videos, but I haven't had any like strong updates around, our BR, and nothing that is different from what I've been talking about for the past almost a month now. But see, I'm trying to read the comments. Yep, definitely. But we're gonna see how that goes, and be able to install them. And I'm excited for it. It's gonna be really fun. See how this season goes. I hope the season's be better than how it was last time, how our season went. And as you guys know, it just, the season didn't, a lot of people didn't get good flows, like no strong flows. It just never got any good. How many halves do you all have? Everybody else can put in, the comment section. But for me, as everybody knows, right now I only have one. Here's the one over here. But definitely thank you, Mike, and go and click that thumbs up button. That would help me out a lot. And you know what, guys, Kim's been really busy, so I think we all understand if he's unable to, make it, and have to postpone for it. We all understand that too. But for the expo, I mean, like, how many? I really don't know how many people exactly went. I think like 2,000 or something like that. So we definitely do understand that everybody who's in here I'll let you guys know. But right now, like I said, I don't know if I'm the smallest one here, but I'm gonna have one. But we are gonna be getting up to 7, and I hope we don't go any more down than that. And I'm gonna try to manage the bees a little bit better, and see how our management style goes. See how we can kind of work with that. And you guys are probably wondering what I mean by management, and a lot of you guys, probably know, but a lot of you guys probably don't know. You see, last year there was a lot of things that I didn't do, and I shouldn't say correctly, but I should say like intentionally, I should say. And the reason is maybe I didn't think before I did some things. I can say that. And hey, Tritone, good seeing here. And when I'm doing this stuff, and kind of, oh yes, I get you, Brian. And thank you, I appreciate you. And in those times and doing stuff like that, I did a lot of splits, which it's okay to do splits. I did a whole bunch of splits, and it worked out really good. But I think I might have overdid those, splits. Maybe over split them a little bit, and just go the best way, of course. And but this year, that's why this year we're gonna try to start doing a better management plan. And the reason also last year also why I'm saying we didn't split the best way was because when we were doing that, I did a different type of split, which I guess isn't really different. I took them out. Queen stayed in its original place, of course, but I put it over here. I didn't put a queen cell in it to give it a little bit of a faster time for that queen to go get laid or mated or anything. I just let them make their own queen off the bat. Let them make their own queen. It took, they're out of there. They don't have a queen for like 4 to 5 weeks. So those numbers start going down, and that makes my whole numbers go down. So by the time I get to winter, all my hives are very, very weak. At least the ones I have. A lot of them didn't even make it to go into winter. I went into winter the same number I came out of winter in the 2022 through the 2030 season. So we're gonna see how we're gonna be able to kind of do a better job this year of that. I think that's gonna be good for us to try to play around with. Always good to like you said, Brian, it's kind of how we learn to do things. And I've always talked about learning from mistakes. You guys hear it all the time, and us making those small mistakes is how maybe that next year you don't make that mistake and you're better than you were that last year. So a lot of times at that exact moment, when something, not good or something happens, with your bees or life or whatever, sometimes, you think that, oh no, this is very bad and, I'm a bad beekeeper, or this, damages me forever. But what it may be is that's a teaching lesson for anybody, including myself, for everybody, whenever it occurs. And you can learn from that and build off of it, and kind of momentum yourself, and kind of know that whatever you did, that maybe wasn't right, or maybe it didn't go well, you can always learn from that, and be able to for the next year, if you come up to a different spot, or timing, or if you come up to the same scenario, let's say, and then you can just learn from that last time, but maybe I should try to do it differently and see how it goes. And also don't be afraid to try new things. It's always, you can always try new things. If you fail, that you tried it doesn't work for you. But then if you try the next thing and it does work for you, keep using it and apply it to what you've been using that works with you previously, and build that up. Keep going. Keep using things that in the past that work for you, but also try new things that you don't know if it actually works for you or not. If it doesn't work for you, you can just discard it. But if it actually does, work for you, you can, apply it to what you already use. And that's kind of what I try to, view as. And yes, that's how everybody, learns, learning from the mistakes that occur. And and we'll see how everything goes that way. Let's see. You'll go on and sting that thumbs up button if you haven't already. I'd appreciate you if you do that. It would help the channel out, help me out, and everything I do. But that's how everybody learns, folks, and that's kind of what I've always kind of preached on the channel about. If that's right, I appreciate you keeping an honest channel. I try to be, as honest as I can, and a lot of times people don't like to be honest, or say what may happen, that happened that they didn't do right. But I try to be honest, because a lot of times people feel better if they don't say anything about it. But then for me, I really don't feel good if I don't say anything about it. If I say something good, or if I say something about what happened to me, it makes me feel better for some reason. And I just like being honest, keeping an honest channel, and I'm not keep a dishonest channel. Try to be honest as I can. He's doing good, Mike. He's actually behind the scenes right now, kind of managing comments. I still do some of the managing comments too, reading them, of course. That's why I'm always looking down, because my computer's right here, where it's kind of, like if I was able to put my computer over here, I'd be looking over here, just kind of my eyes a little bit pointed. But then whenever I always keep my here. Someday I might try to put my laptop in a certain spot. But anyway, he is doing good, and and he's doing good, and he helps me out in the live streams. I appreciate him, helping out a little bit. That's my goal with my channel, the honest reality of beekeeping. Yep, definitely, because sometimes if you don't include some of the reality of beekeeping, beginners get into beekeeping and think, oh, it's gonna be so easy because this person's it looks easy, and I like to keep it honest. And then where new beginners come in, they'll know that there's also a challenge in beekeeping when they get into beekeeping. Yeah, but I like that method too, Bob. But definitely given too cold and raining to split the past 5 days. Holding and matey queens in my office. Oh, I get you. Holding 6 mate. Oh, you're holding 6 matey queens. All right, I get you. And hopefully your splits go well. I hope they do well in the season. Hope everybody's having a good season so far. What they're doing, kind of what they are planning on doing. Hope they have a really good spring, a good flow, a good good everything. I hope everybody does. See, I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss any comments here. Go on and put a couple more questions in there, guys. And I'll answer them real quick. Trying to read everybody's stuff. I'm thinking we started raising a good patch of brood, and the stores are going too fast. I get you. That sounds decent. We're going to get a little water here. No break. But over that's kind of how everything's working out. We're just kind of keep going, and see how things go, for us. And I hope this year's gonna be a good year. I think it's gonna be, but I just hope we're not gonna have what we did last year. A bad spring drought. I can't say it was a full drought. There are some times where it had some nectar, but just not enough for some good honey. And by the time we had honey, just a little bit, not much even. I just decided we'd keep it, let it stand there, and just see, they can use that for honey stores, and I'll feed in winter like I did, during winter. I fed some candy boards, a couple of candy boards, bees like that, and Grayson, have you got to waxing foundation for them to draw out this year? Not yet, Tim. I haven't got around to it. I've been kind of busy, some other stuff. But all the foundation that's in my have, that's in our have, is mostly drawn foundation. That we're gonna be putting the nukes in. So, and I really do need to do some more of some waxing the frames, because you never know. I may end up trying to harvest some honey this year. You never know. I do have some drawn out super frames that they're doing good, and we're gonna see how that works out. I'll predict the highs for this week, low 40s. So that's the highs. Wow, that's kind of chilly. Let me go and run you guys through the weekly forecast real quick. If you guys are curious what our forecast is. Hope you guys can hear me okay. Hope it's not anything bad, or the audio's okay. Let's see. Tuesday today, I forgot exactly what the high was. 72 degrees. Like right now, it says it's 72 degrees right now. So we're at night, it's 72 degrees. Tonight, the low is 64. Tuesday, tomorrow has like a 95% chance to rain. 71 for the high, 53 for the low. Not bad. Not bad at all. Wednesday, sunshine, maybe a couple clouds. 78 degrees and 48. Thursday is gonna be 70 degrees. Right there on 70. It's gonna be very warm. No clouds in the sky. Abundant sunshine. And the low is gonna be 42. But we do have some winds northwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. We've been having some very windy weather lately. Sunny on Friday. It's gonna be lovely. Sunny, high 74. Winds light and variable. Saturday, 79 degrees, which is the day before Easter Eve. A few clouds early, otherwise mostly sunny. So 79. Low is gonna be 51. Sunday, they already changed it again. 83 for the high. Low 58. Really gonna be nice that day. Partly cloudy, but for the most part, even if it's cloudy, as long as there's no rain, I'll be fine with it. Walker, Bob, is Kamen still coming on, or did I miss something? Oh, you didn't miss anything, Bob. I think Kamen is running kind of late. I haven't heard anything, so I will let everybody know if Kamen is unable to come on tonight. He probably could be coming in. Haven't heard anything, so he might just be kind of busy or something. So if he doesn't make it, I'll let you guys know, and we'll try to reschedule and get a better date, because this was actually kind of like a late minute type thing. So it's kind of late, trying to get everything scheduled up. So I think everybody will understand. Hopefully, if he's unable to make it. Let's see here, Grayson. You going to transfer your nukes to 8 to 10 frame boxes, or keep them in smaller 5 frame boxes for a while? Very, very good question, Keith. And here soon, I've been thinking about this. So we're probably gonna be doing 10 frame boxes. That's what I have set out there. So I'm gonna be transferring them to 10 frame boxes, unless if they're not fully packed. If they could use another week in a nuke, I'll let that go. And we're gonna transfer them into 10 frame boxes. I've never ran any 8 frame equipment. I have never, ran any of that, and some people do, and some people, like to do it. I think I do have some 8 frame, 10 frame little things. All right, guys. I think our waiting is over.
Hey Grayson, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you doing this evening?
Not so good anymore. I apologize to you and everybody else. No, it's not okay. I don't like to be late to anything, and I was, so I apologize to everybody, and especially to you, Grayson.
No
I
problem.
was
We've just been talking here about some of the weather going on. We very appreciate you jumping on, tonight. If you could, tell us about kind of what's going on in your area right now. Spring weather and some different things that you're excited for this season.
well. So right now we are just at the cusp of the beekeeping season. The honey flow here will start in the next 7 to 10 days if the weather's good. The buds are going, the temperature's up. Our first queens have come back, and so we're starting to see some this year's first queens. The primary thing that I'm excited for my operation is to be able to really focus on dialing in some more Varroa control. We want to be able to use our YouTube channel and the expo and everything else to be able to help people be more successful. I feel like in order to do that, we have to be better at dialing in Varroa control and then being able to teach that and any other ways that will help people be successful. At the end of the day, we all like our bees alive and ready to go for the next season.
Definitely, Varroa control is very, very important. I treat some, and I plan on trying to do some. I'm swapping out some different methods because I've been using just Abavar lately. And I do want to hear your opinion on, as we're talking a little bit about, Varroa treatments, and your opinion on rotating treatments, because sometimes, mites can gain, resistance to some treatments. I was wondering if you could explain to us a little bit about maybe some importances of rotating treatments.
Absolutely. So, good question. The primary importance, as I'm sure you know, is sometimes the mites can get immune to some of the treatments, and it really depends on what they are. And one of the problems that we have as humans is, and this is natural for all of us to do, is we get caught up into generalizations. And sometimes that serves us well, because typically, let's say if we meet someone that's my height and looks very similar to me, brown hair, and every single one of them is just an angry son of a gun. Well, then you're probably going to think brown-haired short people are angry sons of guns. That's a generalization. With mite treatments, we do that with, oh man, the mites could get immune to this if we overuse it, because Apistan might, oh goodness, I just forgot, Checkmite, there we go, Checkmite, Apistan, and now Apivar, there have been signs of mites developing resistance. But what we have to realize is these are synthetic chemicals that target how mites detox certain things. And it's not too difficult comparatively compared to like a physical treatment for them to adapt to that. It's very minute stuff. Now, when we take formic acid to them, or we take something like oxalic acid to them, it's more of a physical assault. And I personally believe that if you line up 10,000 people and hit them with a flamethrower, I don't think we're going to find any immune people to that. So I feel like oxalic acid and some of the natural acids are a really nice thing to use with the Apivar carefully, just so that any possible mites that are getting immune to it are hopefully getting cleaned up with these other ones. And I'm a big fan of using oxalic acid vapor. I actually was just using some of it on these early nukes to because there's some brood breaks going on with the new queens coming in. They're starting to lay, but they haven't calved the brood yet. Hit them with some oxalic acid vapor and watch the mites rain down.
Definitely, which is definitely important. Rotating treatments, and I haven't gotten to that yet, but it's I really want to do it. I actually do have some ApiGuard around here, but we kind of want to start kind of using and implementing with some of our strategies to control mites and stuff. The Morris home. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask you a question real fast. What state are you from? I think I've known this. Go ahead.
South Alabama.
Well, the Alabama hat, I was like, surely they've got to be from Alabama. So it's. I'm sure you've told me that at some point, and I've forgotten. So you're from one of the best states, or the locations in the world, actually. And you guys definitely have the best seafood. There's no question. I've got to travel a lot here in the last few years and try seafood from all over the United States. And nothing beats a Gulf fish and shrimp from Alabama. I'm just sorry, nothing's even half as good. So, and Roll Tide. So, all right, we'll get back to your questions.
The Morris Homestead says, "Hey, I have a question for KAMON. I have a hive that is bursting, and I want to split, but I am in New York, in New York State, and the weather is cold. What temps should I look for to be able to make a split?"
All right, so New York State, weather's cold. What temp should I look for to make a split? It would be nice if you were getting regular weather in the 50s or higher, and that's pushing it. It'd be better if it was in the 60s. And just remember that spring and late winter weather just jumps up and down quite a bit. I'm raising queens right now, but we're going to have a couple frosts here coming up. It's going to get down to 29 degrees Fahrenheit of a nighttime. And I think one of the days it's not even going to quite get to 50. But I can make splits this time of the year because the average temp over a 10-day period is definitely above 50, 55 on the low end. And that's cool. What I'd like to see is I'm getting at least 2 to 3 days a week where the bees can get out and fly. And it's really nice if they also can take any feed that I give them as well. But if I'm a smaller beekeeper and I'm not in a big rush, waiting a week can make a big difference sometimes. Don't be in a huge rush with it. However, I've made splits as low as 39 degrees Fahrenheit before. And I went into some powerful double deep colonies, and it was almost March. It was the end of February, and a buddy of mine gave me some queens from Hawaii, and I just had to do something with those queens. You just can't leave them in the cages very long. And so I went into some powerful colonies, and I shook about 3 frames worth of bees over 1 frame of brood and then a frame of food. And I then made a sugar brick and put that on top because it was too cold for them to be able to take sugar syrup. And I really didn't have any fondant at the time. The Hive Alive was making fondant, but there wasn't this new fondant from Strong Microbials. And I just didn't have any. So, but every one of the 5 queens that I had survived in that cold temperature. Bees can handle cold weather as long as they have the bee power to properly cluster around the brood, and as long as they have food contact and plenty of it. That's what they'll need to maintain that brood temperature. But don't push it. But I really recommend find out a couple guys that sell nukes near you and ask them when they start making up their nukes to sell, and they'll probably tell you, hey, April around the 2nd week, that's almost always when we do our nukes, and then you'll know for your area.
Definitely. Russell Koopman, he says, KAMON, do you like ApiGuard or Formate better? Why?
All the hard questions tonight. But good questions. The hard questions are the ones that you should be asking. So Apogard and Formic both have a place in the bee world, but they both are some of the finickier treatments that we use because they both impact colony communication and in certain temperatures can also affect the colony's ability to rear brood and may burn brood even and kill some brood. Thymol less so, which would be the Apogard product. Formic is a little bit more temperature sensitive on the high end, but both have their problems. And so this here we go with a complicated scenario again. But we already talked about the immunity issues with some of the synthetic treatments out there. I don't think we have those problems with the physical attacks, and I'm not sure that we ever will. But the problem that we always will have is the disruption side of the organics or the naturals or whatever you want to call these natural acids, and thymol being derived from thyme. And so with that problem comes the disruption of the colony. And I think we have to be really smart, and I think we should get a lot smarter with these things. Do we want our colonies rearing brood all the time? Do we have to have our colonies rearing brood all the time? These are some of the questions that I'm asking myself, because our flow is done the middle of June. And then I have all of July, part of June, and all of August where my bees are going to be rearing a lot of brood. But do I really have to? I can't really sell a lot of nukes late. There's just not a lot of demand for bees late. I don't make any honey after that. We're just basically making a few splits for ourselves, raising a few queens, but we don't even raise that many in July and August anymore because it's so difficult to have high percentages of success during a long dearth period. So why are we raising all of this brood for during this time? And I really think that maybe we should consider using that period as a time to shut the brood down, a short hiccup. It helps us clean the mites up, and these formic products and the thymol products do damage the brood, and we will lose a queen or two in the process of that. However, if we use it in the right temperature, I feel like I don't really lose a lot of queens that are good queens. And so I think if I have 10 hives and it is July, I'm going to hit them with a formic or a thymol, and I'm going to already have some queens being raised, or I'm going to have some backup colonies where maybe I don't want to raise my own queens. Purchase some for Grayson. He's going to sell you some queens. And you're going to set those up, and those are your backups. And so out of your 10, if you lose 3 or 4 to thymol or formic in a hot weather, and it shuts your colonies down, well, now you have your backup colonies right here. You plug them in. You've killed your mites. There's also some other advantages to going through a broodless period. Not only just higher mite kill, but also we aren't burning through our precious bee bread in summer because I don't have a lot of pollens. Down where Grayson is, he's also going to experience dearth periods like this where it's a lot of robbing season, and it's just fun. All those hungry bees. So out of the two of them, I don't know if I really prefer either one over the other now. Thymol doesn't work good at low temperatures. Like, once you start getting the low 70s, thymol just does not kill good at all. And this research has been done for years over in Europe where it was developed. So thymol does not do a good job unless it's in the upper 70s for the high, preferably in the low 80s. And then once you start getting into the mid 90s, it's kind of too hot to use it. So it's a very tight window there. And yeah, it's a crazy window there. And then the formic also has a tight window. It works better at cooler temperatures, but at hotter temperatures does more damage. I'm kind of a fan of the one pad method with the formic. And when I use formic the most, I just threw some on, I think it was yesterday after church. Yeah. And I like it as a spring treatment for me, but I don't like it as a summer treatment as of yet. I haven't found a way to work with it, but I'm just wondering, okay, do we want to have an operation where we're planning on some queen loss, but we're going to use it in summer anyways and do that? And part of the reason I'm thinking about that is if we have tropicolaps mites or anything like that in the future, we know that they're very sensitive to formic and very sensitive to brood breaks. And do we want to go ahead and start getting in our minds to implement this now and learn how to do that before we even maybe have that problem? So, sorry about the long answer. It's a complicated issue. I have Formic, I have Apigard, I have used some Apivard this year, I have used oxalic acid. I have all the tools, and I will use any of them whenever the temperature is just right. We drop the hammer.
Definitely. A lot of good stuff there, and there's a lot of good treatments and stuff to use, and good question there. And you might have told me this earlier, but I may have forgot. Have you guys started raising queens in your area?
Yes, not too awful long, but this year we're a little bit earlier than others. We've had really good consistent flying days, which is even more important than temperature. You got to have both, but you can have the temperature and it be rainy and just very muddy weather. And we haven't had too much rain this spring. It may be an issue later on, but so far so good. And we, as of, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago, spotted our first queens laying for the season. So that's always a fun thing. It's my favorite thing to do, is to raise new queens and new splits and see them grow.
Definitely. Keith Smellman, he says, KAMON, do you add supers 1 or 2 at a time? What do you do with your wet supers?
So, to be honest, part of the reason I was late was because I was dealing with some supers and I had gotten wrapped up in it and my alarm did not go off. And so I again apologize for that. But I'm dealing with wet supers right now. We had a few colonies that died and they still had some honey left over in honey supers. And so they're perfectly safe to use. So we're going to be extracting those suckers. And so this is perfect timing. I add 2 supers at a time, but it depends on, well, let me back up here. So Keith, you may remember this. You've been with me for a long time, but one of the first years I had a terrible honey year. That year, all of my colonies came down with European foul brood for a couple weeks because we had such terrible nutrition and weather for such a prolonged period. I mean, March was really good. It was all in April. It was like maybe the tail end of March, and then April was just rain and cold, and the bees they just could not get out of the hives. It was like Ireland or something like that. It was terrible. Rain all the time. And we had European foul brood like crazy. But what we'd also done is in late March, like normal, is I added 4 mediums to each one of those. They were strong colonies, load them up. I had done it in the past. And they just couldn't handle it. And so I typically just add 2. I drop them down to single brood management, put an excluder on. I add 2 mediums. And then we come back once the autumn olive has bloomed, which is our first nectar flow, and we're always watching those buds. There's a few things here that are really critical, and this is fun to me and also very important. Autumn olive, blackberry blossom, black locust, tulip poplar, basswood, very difficult to see because most of the time the blossoms are like 20 to 30 feet in the air. Clover, a handful of these are your big honey makers. And so we want to keep an eye on these things, but especially the autumn olive, which we know is our first one. We're going to gauge that development. We're going to peek in there and see what the supers are like. We'll come back 10 days after we drop the first 2, and in a perfect year, we'll need to add more. But we're not going to add them too fast. And wet supers, as far as storage for those, I like to let the bees dry them up. I don't like to store wet supers. Some people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Using the Paramoth product can work. We've used that in the past. If they're wet supers, I want a product on them, or I want a frozen container or a sealed container with a wet super. It's just too much temptation. But when in doubt, just use some paramoth crystals or something like that. Wet supers, I don't store really wet supers. I let the bees clean them out and dry them out, and so I don't have a lot of experience. I would be concerned that would just attract the moths like crazy.
Definitely. And good stuff there. I also did want to ask. This is just for your area because I was curious for some people's area. Spring down here, we have some pollen coming in. A good bit of pollen coming in. I've been observing the bees, and I was wondering if your flow right now is going good, going strong, and what are some of the local flowers that you have in your area? If you could share with us kind of what's going on, in the flows in your area.
Yeah. So the autumn olive is our first, and it is an invasive. It has a habitat very similar to privet. It looks very similar, and a lot of people from a distance can't tell much of a difference. Same height, kind of same type of shrub slash tree build, but the blossoms hang upside down, which are great because it's harder for them to get washed out by a light rain or something. And they bloom over a decent period, and they're very cold hardy, unlike a black locust. And so the autumn olive is a really great invasive, and I love it. It produces a nice light nectar and is very consistent. Some years it's phenomenal. We'll get a whole medium super just off of that. And some years maybe we just get 3 to 4 medium frames off of it, but we usually get something. Then following that, we're going to get the black locust if it doesn't get nipped by frost, and it seems to be about 50-50 on that. And then some years it's still not a good producer even when it doesn't get nipped, and that's one of the things that we just scratch our heads because we just don't know the answer to these things. Some plants are very consistent, some are non-existent some years, even in years that you would think, man, the weather's perfect for this, but the bloom's just not there. There's something to do with temperatures, years, acidity in soil, moisture content in soil. We just don't understand. Blackberry blossoms, black locust, privet. Thank goodness they rotate a lot of times, but I've seen years where I'm like, man, we're fixing to have a privet flow. The weather's just perfect. We've had the right amount of rain, but now it's stopped, and the bees can fly every day for a week. And then you go out there and the privet has only about a fourth of the blooms that it did the year before. We don't know why. Some years the plants take a little bit of a break, and then other years there's a bumper crop. The blackberry blossom is my favorite nectar. It is an awesome plant. I love blackberries, but the blackberry nectar is exceptional. And whenever we can get a good bloom on that, it is a light, truly fruity flavored honey. Has a nice fruit aftertaste. And I've said this before on chats. We're not like the wine people where we boast about its peach, hints of peach and notes of cherry and all this kind of stuff like that. In beekeeping, we're dead serious. We actually have those notes. They just taste like fermented grapes that went wrong. And so the honey I just had in California from Phil Hoffland, it was star thistle, and it has a black licorice aftertaste. Not very strong, but definitely a black licorice aftertaste. I'm a huge black licorice fan, the authentic stuff. So I'm getting in on the weeds here a little bit, but the tulip poplar is a hit or miss plant. Whenever the tulip poplar is strong, it impacts our entire year because there's so many of those trees here, and the honey is red amber. And so our entire crop will go from being a nice light yellow typically to being a really dark red amber or close to that. It's a good honey when it's mixed with other things. When it's just solid tulip poplar honey, I really think it's more of a barbecue sauce honey. It is delicious for barbecue, but as like a biscuit, it's just a little too strong for me. Clover, can't hardly beat that. We have a little bit of sweet clover, mostly white Dutch. Oh, the basswood is good in certain yards, and it is a wonderful tree. Wonderful. You want to talk about buckets of nectar, basswood just rains it down, but it'll have bumper crop years, and so some years you just get a little bit of basswood, and then some years you get a ton. And then last but not privet, and then last but not least, the sumacs. They also can yards around rivers do way better for several of these plants because rivers just have better soil typically, better water access, and a lot more plant diversity. And that is why we try to find bee yards far enough from the river we don't get flooded out and see our bees go downstream, but close enough we can get the river forage, and also they can shoot up into we're in the rocky hillsides. So we have very poor topsoil, and we see a big difference between hives that are on the ridge tops and the poor clay and rock versus the ones in the bottom ground with the good soil and the river diversity. And you also get frost protection with rivers as well because of the thermal properties of the water, where you'll get trees that get frosted up on the hillsides. The areas around the rivers, unless it's just a crazy hard freeze, they are protected because of the warmth of the water. So just a few things there.
Oh, nice to hear. We got a question here from Russell. This kind of goes back to the seabirds. He says, "KAMON, do you store your seabirds outside or inside?"
So I don't have any good storage inside besides our basement, and Laurel says, nope, not going to happen. So we store them out in a shed that's completely open on one side, and another shed that is also got just one big open door. And they don't get rained on or anything like that, but it's kind of good because they get a lot of sunlight. And if there's never been any brood reared in them, and I don't stack them too deep, we can go without any type of product to keep the moths out. But there's just got to be enough airflow. There's got to be enough light. The frames just can't be butted up right up against each other. And they can't be just really old combs that have a lot of brood, or if they have bee bread in it, it's even worse. Wax moths, beetles love that stuff. So we do lose a little bit each year. It's not a lot storing them that way, but we are looking into getting a shipping container, those big metal shipping containers that seal up really nicely, and seeing if we can't use that. And there's some products that you can throw in there that are supposed to keep them out. I haven't tried them yet, so when in doubt, use some paramoth or something to protect it. That comb is really valuable, as you know, and the paramoth stuff has been used since my great-grandfather was around, so it seems to have worked and not had any issues, and I would use that product if I had to use one.
Definitely. Mike Minnesota beekeeper, and he says, in my climate, any thoughts on high doses of OA being detrimental in cool weather when bees are not wanting to break cluster, not being able to fan some of those crystals?
So there's really not a lot of advantages to treating bees when they haven't broke cluster. When they're really tightly clustered, you just don't get a good kill. And we tried this out several years ago. We took some packages straight from the company, and we put them in a sealed container. And except there was a hole where we could treat with oxalic acid, and we could put 2 in there at a time, and we hit them. And it did drop just a couple mites, but it wasn't a lot. But they were all really tightly clustered like a swarm around that feeder can. Well, and so we did that to several of them. I apologize. I think I have some noise going on here. I was watching the chat on my phone. So back to it. So then we proceeded to install all of these packages and then put sticky boards underneath them so that we could observe any more mite fall. And we came back and we treated them. We had a catch tray with the packages as well. Some of the mites were in the bottom of the package, but they could kick a little bit of them out. And we just didn't see hardly any drop at all. So when we were like, okay, maybe there's just not a lot of mites. And then we proceeded to put them in. They all got spread out on all the frames and get all the combs, and it was warm, and they weren't clustered anymore. Queen was laying. This is before they capped the brood, and then we hit them again, and we had significantly higher drops. And so there's just really no advantage to treating a tight cluster of bees. Wait till they've broke cluster, and typically I like to do oxalic acid vapor when it's around 50 degrees Fahrenheit or greater. Thankfully, where I live, I can get that in December. It'd be Christmas Day. A lot of times it's 60 degrees, which is, of course, where Grayson's at, Christmas Day. I've been in Alabama for Christmas visiting family, and Christmas Day it's like 75, and we're sweating our rear ends off and playing some football in the backyard. And which is interesting because half my family's up in Anderson, Indiana. The other half's down in Mobile, so quite a bit of contrast there. But definitely, my opinion, don't even bother treating them if they're tightly clustered like that. And if they're tightly clustered, probably don't want to disrupt them and cause them to break cluster as well. It just stresses them for no reason.
Yeah. When you go back to 70 degrees, here on, Christmas, it was like 70 degrees. But unfortunately, on that day, it was cloudy and it was raining. So, we didn't get much of a benefit. But, it was just like miserable up on, Christmas.
That's what you get for Christmas. You get mud for Christmas down there is what we say. You don't get snow.
No, yeah.
Like
definitely. Russell Koopman, and he says, KAMON, would it get too hot in a enclosed trailer in Tennessee where it would melt the comb?
Well, I've seen guys do that in Arkansas and further south. We've seen a lot of guys who have done it further south of us, and it hasn't been an issue. Those things, you don't put it all the way towards the top, but no, that is a fair question, but it must be just cool enough. Wax usually melts somewhere around 140 odd degrees, and it doesn't get that hot, thank goodness, in the shipping containers. But yeah, I know several people way further south of myself that use it with great success and have used it for decades. So that shouldn't be an issue.
Definitely. The Morris Homestead, and he asks, hey, KAMON, will the Bee Expo be at the same place next year, and what are the dates? I am hoping to make plans to be able to come.
The dates and where the Bee Expo will be at. So we are going to do it at Louisville again. We've fortunately and unfortunately got to the size where there's just not a lot of conferences that suit us, because we need a conference that is kind of like a fairgrounds, because we looked at Atlanta, we looked at Nashville, Memphis, we've looked at Birmingham. We have looked at several places in Georgia besides Atlanta, and we've looked in Knoxville, Chattanooga. We're not going to go any further north than Louisville. I know some of the Yankees are disappointed by that, but it's too risky going any further north than that with that winter weather. And we're wanting to give you guys a little bit of a break as much as we can to get some warmer weather, especially for those of you up in Canada. For you guys, getting to 20 degrees Fahrenheit is an exciting moment. So Louisville it is. We need lots of parking. We need it to be easy. And Louisville is one of very few places in this region that has what we need. It is shocking how few options there are. Unless you guys want to fight downtown traffic and parking garages and all that fun stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. I thought there'd be more options. So, the dates, we will be announcing those soon. I guess I can go ahead and say it. No one's watching. We'll be doing it the first weekend again. We don't have a choice. That's part of the reason we've delayed this long, is it's close to New Year's, and it's a bummer. I know that's going to be a little bit difficult for some people to be making plans that close to New Year's, but we just don't have a choice. And beggars can't be choosers. Like I said, there's not a lot of venues that will work for what we need. Our trade show is what inconveniences us the most. We brought in like 30 semis of product last year, and we turned away some people. I have more vendors lined up for next year. Well, they're not signed up, so no vendors start freaking out, please. But they are messaging me saying they're wanting to come. So we'll have more stuff, more things next year. and they just take up so much square footage. They took up 129,000 square foot, and then thankfully they let us use the adjacent room where we put a few more semis worth of product into. And yeah, I think we're going to do more next year. And so we have to just be able to have a place where everyone can get it in and out. And we really like to think about you all. I don't want to go to a place where I wait in long lines. I have to fight traffic. It sounds stressful and not very fun. The B Expo is supposed to be fun. So, but unfortunately, to have that fun, it's going to be a late New Year's party. It'll be like the second, third, and fourth. So we are planning on doing some extra goodies. Now that we have Louisville dialed in, we're going to have a lot more add-ons, and not only educationally speaking, but just fun and stuff to hang out and I don't know, who knows? Maybe we'll bring out a disco ball and get a bunch of bee-related stuff themed going on, having beekeeping New Year's shindig. How's that?
I think people will love that.
Yeah, have a
Definitely, it
big
sounds.
Alabama ball rolling around up there.
Definitely have to put that in there. Um, I think it's gonna be fun. I think everybody's gonna be looking forward to it, and it's gonna be definitely a good time. Tritone asks, came in when wax dipping your equipment, what temperatures and for how long? There seems to be a lot of conflicting opinions on this.
So, how long and what temperature? 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if you watch some of my older videos, which I'll be editing some of those or just removing some, it says 250 degrees, which 250, 275 is how I was taught. And that's part of the problem. And it wasn't that what we were doing was bad or didn't work. It actually worked really good, but it was overkill. We were dipping for 250 to 275 for 15 minutes. So there's a gentleman by the name of Tony Kadai who actually has a PhD in all these type of waxes, and there's a certain name for it. I can't remember, but he spent his career working with paraffins and microcrystallines and how they absorb into different things and how they're used. So this product that I use now is it's called Canada Wax, and most of the Canadians have switched over to using it. It's food grade. It's designed to penetrate better and absorb into the boxes better. And Jed Thorne with Thorne Manufacturing, who builds wax dipping tanks and had one at the Bee Expo, he is distributing that here in the U.S. for them. And so it is designed to work at 300 degrees Fahrenheit and within 3 minutes give you the penetration that you need. And at 300 degrees Fahrenheit in 3 minutes, boom. I mean, it just is a game changer, because 3 minutes versus 15 minutes, I can dip 5 times the amount of boxes in the same amount of time. It doesn't come out to that quite, because you have to unload them and things like that, but I can at least do 4 times the amount of boxes in the same amount of time. So 45 deep boxes an hour is what you should be able to average if you have a proper setup with a Thorne tank that they are just releasing here shortly. And so 45 an hour, you do 10 hours of work, that's 450 boxes. And I love wax dipping. So 300 degrees Fahrenheit, 3 minutes. And I recommend the Canada wax stuff. It's been tested so well, and I appreciate guys like Tony Kadai, who really aren't beekeepers, but through necessity in their industry, working with so many beekeepers. What happened was the beekeepers kept buying this stuff from that company, and they're like, okay, well, this is kind of a big deal. Maybe we should look into this more. And so they did a lot of R&D and started looking into it and dialed it in. And we actually had a presentation at the Bee Expo where he gives all the technical information and cross sections of how this works. So yes, 300 degrees, 3 minutes. Boom.
Definitely very good. I got a topic here that I usually bring up and sometimes in my live streams that I like to talk about, and of course it's opinion based and stuff, and you have a lot of different half configurations. Like single, deep, single deeps or double deeps, housing bees in it. And I was wondering if you could share your opinion on kind of what you like the best and what you kind of find that works for you whenever when we're talking about half configurations, 10 frame boxes, 8 frame boxes, double deeps or single deeps.
Well, and good question. Another broad one because there's so many ways to do this. But I started out reading the Walter T. Kelly book, How to Keep Bees and Sell Honey. And in that book, he talks about drawing out the original 10 frames of foundation. And then once you've drawn that out, you space them to 9. And so it's a 2 deep box configuration, 9 in the bottom, 9 in the top. And the reasoning for this is if I have 1,000 hives and I have 2 boxes per hive, well, so I've got 2,000 boxes and I am going to pull 1 frame out of each one of those. Well, that's 2,000 less frames that I'm going to need for my operation. 2,000 less foundations, and it gives me a little bit more space in between the combs. I don't think that it does help you a little bit get the combs out because the end bars of the frame aren't sandwiched up against each other like they would be with a tin. So there's pros and cons to that. If you're running a double deep system and then putting an excluder and then honey supers on top, I think the 9 system works wonderfully. However, when I started going to single brood management, I switched to 10 frames in a deep box, and we still run doubles through most of the year. So let me kind of go through my season real fast, if you will, and go through kind of the process of 2 deeps, 1 deep, 2 deeps. So we overwinter a lot of times with 2 deep boxes. Sometimes we overwinter with a single, but a good strong colony, we're going to overwinter with 2 deep boxes. Once we get to this time of the year, we are cutting our bees back in preparation for swarming, and we're using these extra bees for making more mating nukes, making nukes to sell, whatever it is. But we're also doing this to prevent swarming. Bees want to swarm as naturally as anything else that they want to do, and they're going to try to do it at some point. So we just curb that by pulling them back. And we also want to go to single brood management so we can get more honey. So that double deep box, out of, let's say you should have 20 frames in there, or I'll have 10 in the bottom, 8 in the top with a 2-gallon frame feeder. 18 frames, 20 frames, whatever. We may have 10 of those frames that are going to have brood on them. If we have a good laying queen, we will. We're going to condense that down to 4 to 5 frames of bees in the original location and put that in that bottom single. And we're going to try to give them the emptiest combs that we can, because this original location is going to keep all the forager bees. We're going to take the other deep box off with the other frames of brood with the heaviest frames of food, and we're going to stick that on a stand all by itself, and we're going to put a new queen cell or a queen in there. And that'll be a new colony that we can sell as a nuke once we get a new queen to come back. It'll be too big for a nuke, but that's okay. Grayson wants a nuke. We say, okay, well, we've got a 10 frame strong colony over here. We're going to find the queen. There she is. Here's 3 frames of brood that are awesome. Here's a frame of partial brood and pollen, and here's a frame of food, and throw that in a transportation nuke box like an easy nuke, and that's out the door. The customer gets a wonderful nucleus colony ready to immediately go into a 10 frame box and expand and grow. And we still have some extra bees left over that now I can drop another queen cell into that, and that's going to become an increased colony for my operation or something like that, a replacement for a loss. Now, that original single stays for honey production. We put an excluder on immediately, and that's where those 2 medium boxes of honey supers go on top. And so any influx of nectar that's going to happen here in the next week is going to go into those drawn combs and will not go into the bottom. Plus, they've taken a population hit. They don't want to swarm. They're now in the stimuli of expansion mode. And if you give the bees enough time and they're not too strong, they will be very good at going through an excluder and putting all that nectar above that excluder. And then as long as you keep them in space up top, they will just keep pushing that up through the excluder and will keep that bottom area cleared. But we are going to want to have 10 deep frames in that bottom box so that our queen has plenty of room to be able to go from side to side and lay. And as long as they keep that bottom area clear of honey, and typically that's what you'll see when you inspect them, is there's like 2 pounds of honey in the bottom deep, and that's it, maybe 4 pounds. And it's basically brood or bee bred. A little bit of honey around the brood, just a tiny bit, but that's it. And all the rest of that nectar and honey just gets shoved up in the upper area. And once they establish themselves good like that, they're great at it as long as they don't run out of room. And then we come back in early June and we pull the supers. And at this point, if we've had a good year, we may pull 3 to 5 supers off of one of these colonies, and we take all of the honey. And that's how we're able to average around 100 pounds a year, is because we take all of the spring flow from them. And when we remove those honey supers, we immediately add a box of deep foundation, pull up a frame of eggs or larvae, and we get rid of the excluder, and we feed them aggressively. And we got this massive population of older bees, and they will draw that out in no time flat. The only time they don't draw it out good is if they've decided to re-queen. And so out of 40 colonies in the yard, you usually find 1 or 2 that'll do that. It's very common after the honey flow for a few of them to run out of steam towards the end, and then with the nutritional peak being over and starting to decline, the bee is like, this is a good time to requeen. They may fix themselves, but during that period, they don't draw comb very well at all. Once that new queen comes back, though, they clear that brood nest out and push it up and draw comb again. So put some good coated foundations. We get a bunch of new combs this way. We get a big honey crop, but you have to feed them heavy. You can't give them a gallon for a week. They will consume a gallon of sugar syrup in 2 to 3 days, and it'll all be gone with a colony of this size. So we're talking 8 to 10 gallons is what we need just to get them drawing those boxes and starting to store. So it's an expense there, but we get all of that honey. And now we also, once we get that deep box drawn, usually around the end of June, we begin our treatments. And we run double deep like that the rest of the season, unless we feel like we need to split some more. We can split some more after that, but I really don't like to fight the season anymore. And with the Bee Expo and YouTube and all the other stuff, I just don't get around to doing that a whole lot anymore. So
Definitely.
it's all right. It's a long answer, but it's a long process too.
Oh, no problem. I really like hearing, beekeepers' opinions on different things, and definitely good information for beekeepers. We have a question, and says, what are you doing currently, KAMON, for your business and helping young beekeepers?
Well, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes going on. Young beekeepers, primarily the Next Gen Bee program, is what we're trying to do from a conference standpoint, to take young men and women who are like yourself, and that's how we met you, is through that program, who are already doing things with bees, but that's how we select, is we're like, okay, we want to find some guys and girls who are very serious about this, and obviously you can tell they want to stick with this long term, and we want to bring you guys in and show you as much as we can in one place. The Bee Expo is a fun place for that, because there's so many great companies and so many fun individuals and people that are way smarter than I am, that the young beekeepers can get exposed to that and hopefully make some connections and build some relationships and be encouraged. The other things that I'm wanting to do in the future is focus a little bit more on some interactive field days and have a youth one. This year has been a little bit busier than I hoped that it would be, and I wanted to do some field days and whatnot, but I don't think that's going to happen this year. But in the future, I want to have a youth field day, and I want to have also some field days for just beekeepers in general. There's some things going on in the background that we're working with on the industrial level. I really can't talk about that right now, but we are trying to do things that are going to positively affect the North American way of bee life, so to speak, to where hopefully we can eventually impact things as far as honey prices and being able to sell more bees, also being able to protect ourselves from new invasives and other things like that. So there's a lot of stuff going on. It's not just me. I'm just one of the pieces. So there's a lot of things. We're too busy, and it's nobody's fault but mine that I say that I take on too much stuff, and I enjoy it very much. But I need some help, and that's why we work with the young people, is so that they're going to grow up and hopefully take some of this work over, so I can get a break.
Got another question here. Do you have issues with small hive beetles? If so, how do you manage that problem?
Oh, yeah, those guys. Oh, yeah, we definitely do. And first of all, if someone's in the South like we are, Grayson, you'll never get rid of them. You can kill a bunch of them, you can kill thousands of them, you'll never get rid of them. And if a hive collapses and you just have 5 small hive beetles, you've killed almost all of them, but you got 5 left. They can detect those pheromones, and those 5 can swarm on that colony as it's collapsing, lay thousands of eggs and offspring and slime that out. And now within just a matter of a handful of weeks, they're going to go into the ground if the temperatures are right, pupate, and become adults that are now going to infest the rest of your colonies. And you've got hundreds, if not thousands more, that you have just from that one collapse. And so we can control them to a degree, but it's limited. The best thing that we can do is when we have colonies that are going downhill. And this is why we monitor things. Whenever we drop a queen cell, this is how many days that queen has until we shake that colony out or combine it back with another one. We never push it to where, we could get a laying worker. They've collapsed. And now the small hive beetles come in, sack that colony, reproduce, pupate, and create a problem for us. So check your colonies frequently, even during slower times of the year, let's say summer, when it's the dog days, it's August, it's July. Nobody really enjoys in the South working bees at that temperature. You're just sweating through your bee suit. The bees are typically more ill that time of the year, but that's the most critical part of the southern beekeepers' season. If you can have good bees coming out of summer and going into fall really healthy, well, you're going to have good success. Our winters aren't that bad, but our summers are what kills the most of our bees. Late summer mite problems, late summer stressors, late summers. So keeping the small hive beetles low is helpful, and keeping the bee population high is helpful. So we like to feed some pollen patties leading up to the fall flow, and during the fall flow a little bit. The fall flows are really inconsistent. The pollens usually are just as poor and sometimes inconsistent on quantity. And so I want to feed some pollen patty to go with that, because this is the most crucial round of bees. We want a big, nice cluster. In the South, we don't worry about, or shouldn't worry about, rough winters. If we have good bees, we don't have real winters to worry about. But if we reproduce so many more mites, we have to deal with so many more beetles, and we deal with bigger nutritional gaps where our bees may go 3 months without good pollens. That's rough on bees. So if we do get a little trickle in the fall, I think the pollen patties can really help out, but we need to slice them thin. We need a big colony that's going to consume that quickly. We want a feeder rim or something that's going to enable the bees to protect it and consume it faster. And we want to keep those small hive beetles low. So you can use a trap like a beetle blaster. We found that putting some pollen patty down into the oil encourages the beetles to go in there faster, because they're just super attracted to that. And so just smashing a little bit of that down in there. Rossmann has some traps, and maybe another company or two does as well. And they are like a beetle blaster, but they're a clear plastic. You can open them up and actually put a little bit of pollen patty down in there. There's also a few other products out there, But something simple that kills them is the best, in my opinion. I like to kill them. There's some Swiffer sheets, but they get in the way, and they have to be fluffed up just right for the Swiffer or the Dynamax sheets to work really good. And I just hate having to work around them so much. A little bit of illegal roach bait works wonders on beetles, but it's highly illegal, and we didn't say that on here. And we're not recommending that you do it, but a lot of commercial guys that I know, they will take a trap where no bee can get to it, and they have an entrance where the beetles can get in there and put a thin line of roach bait and takes them to the woodshed. Yeah, they die like crazy. But I know that's a long answer, but small hive beetles are a big problem. Big colonies deal with them quite well, even if there's 50 of them in a hive. If your bees are super healthy, they'll still be able to handle those. Nothing is more satisfying than crushing like 5 or 6 at a time with a hive tool, and so that's also a method, albeit not the fastest.
Definitely. Um, and we have a lot of issues sometimes down here in Alabama, and a lot of times my big house, I don't really have a problem. Of course, I still do keep an eye out, make sure the infestation doesn't grow too big. But usually for us, those strong halves do fairly well with hot beetles. But always a lot of times my weak halves get those hot beetles, and it's just like they take them out. I had a couple halves that absconded that they're a little bit smaller nukes because
Mm-hmm.
of those problems. So you definitely but I find like you said that a lot of times bigger halves, your most stronger halves, do fairly better against small hive beetles.
Absolutely. Well, that's where things change with the small hive beetles. We've had to make our patties a little bit smaller and know how to drop them and when to drop them. And with our little colonies, especially mating nukes or whatever, these days I shake a little bit more bees in there. I'm like, okay, we could probably get away with one frame of brood and a shake of bees and a frame of honey and then put a queen cell in there. But if we have it to spare, why not shake another frame of bees in there? Give them extra bee power. The bees are very good bullies when there's plenty of them and they're strong. And the last thing you want to do is give them too much area to guard, because if you have a frame of food and a frame of brood and then 3 foundations that they can draw on, that's no problem. They can defend all that quite easily, and especially if you have an extra shake of bees in there, that's good because now they can expand. But if you take 3 frames of bees and you throw them into 10 frames, and maybe there's only 1 frame of brood, but the rest of them are like, oh, I got all these frames of bee bread and honey lying around. I'm just going to stuff them in there. They can't guard that, and that's where you run into these issues. So bee to comb ratio is really important on having enough bee power to be able to patrol.
Definitely. This goes kind of to the small hive beetle question, too, and he says, Keith says, Kamen, ever do something like grub eggs around your house?
No, I have not. I've talked to people who have. I've just kind of priced it, and I haven't bit the bullet on the price. I really probably should look into doing that. If I was running a smaller operation, like 10 hives or something, 20 maybe, and I just had a big row of beehives and I could just do that, I'd give it a shot and see how it works. But over the course of several yards, and as much as we move some bees around, I just haven't bit the bullet. But I've heard good things about it. They pupate very shallow into the soil, and they don't do good in very dry areas. California is plenty warm enough for them, but they just don't do well in California and in many of the very dry parts of the United States. They love it where you get plenty of rain and you have looser soil. Enter in Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, Tennessee, all of those places, and they just love it down here. Georgia, of course, but the grubecks, the nematodes, makes sense that they would work, and they attack the same type of beetles. But I would love to see a little bit of research on that, because it could be like the wax dip box situation where we're maybe overlooking something really important or helpful, and we just don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I got a couple topics, and feel free to ask questions, people in the comments, and we'll end off in here soon. I
Hmm.
do have a topic. It's kind of a big topic, and this is just one. Um, you can just answer, on your opinion. Is I was wondering if you could share with us a little bit about. We talked a little bit about queen rearing earlier. I was wondering if you could share with us a little bit of a method that you like to use when you raise your queens.
So I like a starter and then a finisher if I'm raising a lot of queens. So for anyone who's never raised queens before, there's several different ways to do this. All of the methods hinge around the concept of either mimicking swarm-like conditions, which should be the number one thing. If you're raising queens and you're not mimicking swarm-like conditions, you're doing it wrong. That's when bees raise the best queens and want to raise queens the most. The closer we can get to swarm-like conditions, the better in any of our queen rearing setups. But some of them utilize emergency queen cells as well, and that's what I utilize with the bee power and food supply and conditions of swarming. Basically, it would be like if the colony was on the cusp of swarming, hadn't made any cells yet, and the queen just dies. That's the condition I'm going for. So what we do is, this time of the year when there's lots of pollen and a tiny bit of nectar coming in, bees mix really well together. There's no robbing going on, and I love this time of the year. And so we'll go to 5, 4, whatever, however many colonies that we feel like is necessary. And if you have 3 good colonies, that's plenty enough. And we will just shake bees out of them like crazy. And we're trying to create a really compact environment in what's a starter. And this is going to be a queenless starter. They have no queen. They have no ability to raise a queen, no young brood, and they have tons of food. And we've shook bees in here, and we put it in a new location. This means that all the old forager bees went back to the original location. All we have is young bees. Young bees have an active hypopharyngeal gland, or if they're a little bit too young, it's going to be very soon. Old bees are terrible about making jellies, and the hypopharyngeal gland is not really active. And if it was made active, it wouldn't be very useful. They're in a different stage. They're good at making wax, though. And so we have all these young bees in this massive population, but they're queenless. And so now we can introduce some grafts to this, and they take to them quite well. But we want to have tons of bees. And you can do this with a 5-frame nuke box, about 6 to 7 bees into a 5-frame nuke box, and make it extremely dense. You want a good frame of bee bread right up next against the grafts, ideally 2 if you have it. And you want to be feeding them pollen patties. Even if there's a good pollen flow going on, we want copious amounts of nutrition. We want nothing held back on these queens. And we're going to be feeding them some very thin sugar syrup. And we always want to have either an empty comb or a foundation, which is a relief comb or a relief foundation. So if they want to draw wax or need to store some food, that they are not going to draw comb in between the queen cells, which is called webbing. So this is a queenless starter, and it works very good at starting cells. They're not quite as good at finishing cells. A colony that's better at finishing cells is a larger colony, and that will be a double deep, almost swarming colony, and we'll have a queen down below an excluder. So the queen's laying down below, an excluder here, double deep box, second box on top. We're going to have it staged to where we have a bee bread frame, the graft frame. Now this isn't the edge of the box, so we'll have like some honey frames on the side, or what, brood or whatever, cat brood, but somewhere in the center where it's nice and warm, especially in cool weather, we're going to have a bee bread here, graft frame here, and then we're going to have a frame of young larvae. And the reason we want this is nurse bees need to be in close proximity to those grafts. Young larvae are going to have nurse bees already up on that frame and pulling more by the smell that they release, the pheromones. And so we need a young population. And we don't have to find the queen. For those of you who are concerned that, oh, how do I find the queen to do this? Just shake all the bees down in that second box down to that bottom box, and then put that excluder on, and then put your second box on top that you're going to put your grafts into. All the bees will work their way through except the queen and any drones. And so you don't even have to find the queen. But most of the time we don't even look. We just start shaking them down. Very quick to do that once you get used to it. And so that grafting bar will have 45 cells on it. And again, bee bred here. And a strong, very strong double deep colony like this, we'll run 2 of them in there. So a 45 here, 45 here, and that's 90. Why I like this system is the starter, all that does is start the cells, and it's really good at it. And so we graft into it on day 1, come back 24 hours later, we put it into one of these finishers, and it's a queen right finisher. So a queenless starter, queen right finisher. Now, as soon as we pull those grafts out, we graft into the starter again. 24 hours later, back into the queen right finisher. And then we can have 10 of these finishers going. And the starter just, boom, every day, up to 45 cells there. And if it's a 10 frame starter, like if it's got 12 to 13 frames of bees, we could have 2 grafts going in there. And sometimes you can do more than this, but I've seen some guys do like 200 grafts into a single deep. I don't really like to push the extreme that I could get. I really want to make sure that all my cells get over and beyond the attention that they need. And so that's the system that I prefer right there. However, if you're a backyard beekeeper and want to keep it simple, just set up a 5-frame nuke box, shake you about 6 to 7 frames of bees into that nuke, and come back a day later, make sure that you didn't have a bunch of foragers fly back, and make sure they're just, I don't care if it's 40 degrees outside, there should be a little bit of bees bearding on the entrance of that little bitty colony. Feed them, get them strong and healthy, and that's your starter finisher. It's a queenless starter finisher, and you won't be able to get 45 cells to take into something that small, but you don't need to. Graft 30, graft 40, whatever, and then if you walk away with 15 to 20 that are accepted and go to the whole cycle, well, now you've got some wonderful queen cells, and it's such a fun process. And whenever you're finished, just leave one of those queen cells for that one to take over that colony, and these little queen cells will just be wonderful because they never hit a cage. You drop them into a big colony as a queen cell or to a mating nuke, and if you don't want to, those queens will never stop laying. They never see a cage. They never go through shipping. Wonderful, wonderful queens. My favorite part.
Definitely. Good stuff there. We've got a question here from Russell. We're going to go for about maybe 10-ish more minutes, and we'll go on and shut it down. I'll allow a couple more questions to come in. And Russell asks, KAMON, are you looking at getting height-tolerant bee genetics?
Yes, I am. I was wanting to work more on that this last year, 2023, and we had some other problems that we had to contend with instead. But I think that is part of the future. Part of the problem that we've had is there have been some con artists, especially when I was around your age, Grayson, that were very popular and were watering down the few people that were doing things correctly. Some of them were using YouTube to do this and other means, and they were claiming that they had special bees and they did not, and that really messed a lot of the energy towards that should have been there. And so I'm a big fan of people who put the real work into it, and it's a hard process. The folks at the USDA lab at Baton Rouge, the Corey Stevens, he does good work there. I am not of the belief personally that we will ever get a bee that will be completely immune to Varroa. Do not believe it. We look at way too many things in nature that have either gone extinct or that are diminished. They're not what they used to be. I mean, for example, I love growing a garden, but there are a lot of plants ever since we got the squash bugs to come over here from Asia. Another fine gift from there. And several of the other things that attack roses, and whether it's blights or whether it's apple trees with blights and plum curculio. Boy, it's a hard one to say. These new pests change the game. And can we breed more resistant roses and apples? Absolutely, and it does make a difference. But these things are every day trying to get stronger and better. And if we're not doing the same thing as beekeepers, we're fools to not do that. So part of the future should be genetics. And I think that we have gotten somewhere. The bees have done most of the work for us, though. Prior to Varroa, we dealt with a lot more European foul brood, a lot more chalk brood, a lot more minor maladies. But the Varroa mites have put them through so much stress, they don't deal with those as much. They still are there, but our bees are more hygienic in a lot of ways, and there are a lot of good beekeepers out there. So I want to get more involved with this. I've either got to decide, am I going to be a beekeeper that runs a few hundred hives, or am I going to be a sideliner who focuses on more education, dialing in Varroa control, genetics, all of these different things. And it's really hard to decide because I want to do all of them. I just went to the almonds this year. It was an awesome trip, and it was cool to see. And part of me wants to be a commercial beekeeper still, but after seeing some of the semis that sat for a little bit too long, I don't know, maybe not.
I get you. And just a lot of different things there. And there's just a lot of cool things going on, and we're going to go for just a little bit longer. If anybody has some final questions for KAMON, we'll answer them. But really, we've been, I really appreciate, KAMON for joining us tonight. It's fun, doing this. I appreciate, KAMON, taking his time to, chat in and join with us tonight. I really appreciate everybody jumping in tonight because we have like almost 80 folks on here. So I appreciate you guys, coming in and talking bees with us. And I appreciate KAMON. We do have a question here from Tritone. And KAMON, and he says, KAMON, are you going to UBO test?
So if I get into that heavily, I will UBO test. To be honest, I'm just not in position to do that right now. We have the expo, which needs a lot of work. Maybe to a few people on the outside, it looks like we know what we're doing, but there's a lot of room for improvement and a lot of things that we want to do in the industry on that side of things. There's also the YouTube videos. There's a ton of work that needs to be done there, and I have not been able to participate for quite a while. That's a story in of itself. That might change very soon. Then there's just with genetics, and also like I got a call from one of the companies today developing a product, and they ask me, I guess they assume that I know what I'm talking about, and sometimes I do. Sometimes I have to say, hey, I just don't know. Here's a guy that probably does. And so I've turned into kind of a hub, and it's really shocking. It's fun, and I'm very flattered, but I never expected this. And I have companies just call me all day long. I'll wake up to a text from a company like, hey, we'd like to do business with this other company. Do you have their contact information, or could you put us in contact with them? And I just get that all day long, and they're good people. I have a buddy who just Facebook messaged me and said, hey, I've got this problem in my hive. I don't know what to do about it. Could you look at it for me? And that's awesome. But the problem is I have 1,000 buddies on the low end that I chat with and mean a lot to me. And so it's just really difficult to keep up with it all. So the UBO test is cool. I hope that they do really well with it. I would love to have the time to do that and to work on Simple Comb and everything else. Again, that's why I think there is a lot of opportunity for young guys and girls who want to do some of these things that guys like me don't have time to do. And I wish them the best. Anyone that invests their time to the bee industry are my favorite type of people.
Definitely. And I got one more topic and then we'll end it off here. And this is a topic I've been meaning to, kind of touch on, and I just forgot. Questions came in. But what are some basic, some simple tips that you'd give to a beginner beekeeper when they start, when they keep bees?
Mm-hmm. Good question. So beginner, that's one of the things I've really been racking my brain the last, I don't know, year. I've been asked to speak on a beginner topic, just rank beginner, 4 or 5 times at a bee organization. So I've put together some PowerPoints for that. And it's been a real journey for me because it doesn't feel like it at the time when you're a new beekeeper or even in your 3rd or 5th year, but eventually after 20 something years, I believe this is my 23rd, you just forget a lot of the questions that you were asking as a new beekeeper. I remember a lot of the big ones, but a lot of the basic ones I've just forgotten. And so some of the best things for me to be able to teach is having people ask what they usually say, oh, this is a really dumb question, KAMON. But it's not. It's a normal question for someone who doesn't know. So ask questions. Read books. Go to meetings as much as you can. And I know it's a lot. Sometimes you learn a lot even when you don't feel like it. Sometimes you learn what not to do or who not to hang around with. Having a good core group of people is critical. I think in anything, in and out of beekeeping, you need to be somebody who is likable for other people to like you. But if you can be that person, you'll find fellow friends in beekeeping. And it's amazing. My journey when I started out, Jed Thorne with Thorne Manufacturing, I was chatting with him. We were teenagers. And I was talking to Gus Mitchell when I was a teenager. And he was, I think, in his very early 20s. And we were all figuring these things out. And Zach Heinzelman, who now runs a commercial amount of queens out of Hawaii. And it's just several other guys. And Blake Shook, I remember him as a little kid. And now he's taller than me, but he's still thin. So he's still little. And Blake is just torching it. And so you just don't think that you'll ever get there. But ask the questions. Put the work in. Put the time in. And more importantly than any of it, don't let a couple hive losses get you down. You're going to lose bees. You're going to lose bees. It's part of the process. Bees aren't long-lived. I mean, queens don't live that long, bees don't live that long. Stick with it. Those who do, I think, will find that it is very rewarding. And I personally think just you got to have the tenacity. Bob uses this term. You got to have the tenacity to stick with it. But making early on, I guess if I had to be more particular, every other week get in your hive, unless you should be in there more than that. That's the minimum. Get in there. You don't have to be in there a bunch. You don't have to go through every frame. You don't have to find the queen every time. Learn how to identify bee bread, drone brood, different stages of the egg going to the larva. Open up a cell or two, even if maybe you don't want to kill a bee, and that's okay, but check on the development. There's a purple-eyed stage that the bees go through when they're in the pupa stage. There's just all little kinds of little things to learn and explore, and you can see a lot of stuff in 5 minutes. And just enjoy yourself. Make sure there's plenty of feed in there. A large colony bigger than 8 frames should never have less than 21 pounds of food, or 3 to 4 deep frames of honey or sugar syrup. Don't let your bees run low on food. They aren't like us. They can't go days without food. Some of us would benefit from that probably. Watch the food. Take Varroa seriously. If you want to be very successful early on, you've got to put in the extra work on Varroa. Make sure your food levels are good. And learn how to make splits. Take a class if you have to. You're going to lose bees. You're going to have to buy another package or a nuke at some point. If you buy a nuke from me, it's $195. But if you have a good double deep colony and it's ready to be split and you know how to do it, well, make your own split. It's your insurance colony. buy a queen, have it scheduled for Saturday, and Saturday morning, as that arrives, you can stick it in your house for a few minutes, for several hours. Make your split on that Saturday. Go into your strong double deep colony, and you can shake, if it's double deep, shake all the frames down to the bottom box, smoke them down, put an excluder on, put that second box on top, and then you don't even have to find the queen, the original queen. And then the bees will work their way up, and then what I would do is take 3 frames of brood, a few frames of food out of that top box, and then we are going to take any other bees that are in that top box, and we're going to shake them over into that new location. And that new location can be 3 feet away. All the forager bees are going back no matter what you do. And then we're going to introduce that queen right there. That's your split. And now if you lose the colony, you still have that backup, and you're not paying KAMON Reynolds $195 for another nuke. Yeah. It seems like, oh, there you are. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to do the rest of this myself.
Well, my camera just went out of battery. It always goes out of battery whenever, go, to that time, But definitely some good tips there. And, we've been going for about 2 hours. I bet, I guess it has to end at some point. But I really appreciate you came and joining us tonight. We have Ian, once Kim getting back on Saturday nights.
When you least expect it, Ian, I can't tell you that, but just be watching. It's going to happen, and I'm going to be picking on you, just like I used to.
Yeah. Well, I do got to say extra thanks to Ron Alley, JW, Bruce is in here, so good thank you, for the super chats. German, I appreciate everybody joining us tonight, and I appreciate KAMON joining us tonight and spending a little bit of time here talking about bees. I appreciate it, and we'll catch everybody next time.
Well, thanks for having me, Grayson. Apologize for being late. Thanks, everybody, for supporting young guys like Grayson. Grayson, keep up the good work working bees this year, and I hope you have a good bee season.
Definitely. You too. Have a great night, everybody.
See ya.